Welcome to GDSC PDEU and IBM Z event on enterprise computing. Now, I won't really get into more details about enterprise computing because that's something Lucas will touch upon. So, if I had to just summarize the whole thing in one line, and this is something that the official website of IBM says, enterprise computing refers to business-oriented IT that is critical to companies' daily operations. So, any aspect of information technology that pertains to any operation throughout the day is something that falls under enterprise computing, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of you folks should really get into enterprise computing. I would really say that it's not quite famous topic per se, but it's because of the fact that it pertains to each and every aspect of a company's work every single day. I think that it is something that we should touch upon, and that's why I do think that this is the first time within 3 or 4 years that I have seen anyone touch upon enterprise computing, and I hope that you folks gain a lot of knowledge and you just get to know about the opportunities that are there in the field of enterprise computing. So here's me. I won't talk much about me. I'm the Google DSC Lead for my campus, and I'm also one of the IBM Z ambassadors selected for this particular cycle, among other things. Touching upon Lucas, he is currently the product owner at IBM, and specifically for IBM's student experience, he has been a former program manager at IBM as well. And inside IBM Z, so as an IBM Z ambassador, I get to gain a lot of knowledge from Lucas because, and actually, the information that is going to share today, right now, will be a part of what we had in our orientation. So you're basically going to get the experience which I had as an IBM Z ambassador. So I really hope that you folks just really enjoy the session and also gain a lot of experience. All right, so that was kind of it. Okay, wrong slide. Okay, so that's it. I'll stop sharing the screen. Lucas, the stage is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. And this is going to be fun because I think it's going to make me probably restart Teams so that I can share my screen. So I'll be right back in here.
Sure.
Sorry about this.
All right. All right, so a lot of new folks have joined right now. So until Lucas comes back and shares his screen, does anyone know about enterprise computing? Or have you? I did give a brief introduction of the same, but does anyone know or have worked with enterprise computing, or they just know about it through a documentary or a tutorial, documentation, challenge, competition, or anything? Does anyone have any particular kind of experience with enterprise computing? You can unmute your mic or just raise your hand if you have. We won't be asking questions like a teacher, so feel free to do so. All right, no one then. I guess you will learn a lot this time. Okay, he's back.
All right, fun
All
stuff.
right. Yeah.
Sorry about that, y'all. Always happens, I guess, when you want to share your screen for the first time.
Yep.
Cool. Jay, can you please give me a presenter privileges again?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Guess I forgot that.
Awesome. Cool. So thanks, everyone. I hope you're seeing this Canva up here.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm here to talk to you about enterprise computing. You might have heard of mainframe computing. It's the same thing. it kind of gets this representation that it's kind of old school, that we're moving on from mainframe and enterprise technologies, but that really couldn't be more wrong. And before I really kind of found out about this role within IBM Z and all the cool stuff that IBM Z is up to, I was under that same impression that mainframes are old news, we gotta be moving on from these. But in reality, enterprise computing is as hot as it's ever been, and it's really developing quite rapidly. So I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about what enterprise computing is and how you can kickstart your career and kind of position yourself to do really well in a career surrounding enterprise computing. So as Jay said, I'm Lucas. I'm a product owner with the Student Experience Squad within IBM Z. So we're all about engaging with students, making them aware of what IBM Z and enterprise computing technology is up to, and producing opportunities for how you can get involved and get learning and get skilled up for these awesome career opportunities. As you see, so product owner is a role within a Scrum team under the Agile methodology. So I think we'll have some time for question and answer at the end of this. Feel free to ask about enterprise computing, but also feel free to ask about working on an Agile team. Because I know a lot of you all are kind of geared towards technology, and a lot of those are Agile teams. So happy to answer questions around that as well. So let's kind of get some activity in the chat here. Has anyone here kind of heard of IBM Z or used IBM Z before before learning about this session? Would love to get at least 1 or 2 messages letting me know if you've ever gotten your hands on an IBM Z machine before. Heard of it, not used it, no. I had the same answers. So has anyone ever used an ATM card, withdrawn money from the bank, either yours or your parents or your relatives? I'm guessing for many of you, it might be yes. Or maybe shopped in a retail store, online more recently, in person in the past, maybe in person again soon. Probably likely. Stayed in the hotel, again, not recently, but in the past, possibly. Flown in an airplane, can't wait to get back in one of those and kind of start traveling the world again. But in the past, yeah, definitely stayed in an airplane. So you might be surprised to learn that IBM Z mainframes are actually powering 23 of the top 25 US retailers, 92 of the top 100 banks in the world, 23 out of the top 25 airlines in the world, and all 10 of the top 10 largest insurers in the world. So if you said yes to any of those questions, your preliminary no is actually wrong, because you have experienced the power of the mainframe computer, of the IBM Z machine, because it's powering all of those transactions, all of those business operations that kind of go on in the background as you're purchasing items in a retail store, withdrawing money from the bank, and engaging in travel services. So kind of to take a step back and look at the big picture here, every second on the internet, we see 6,000 tweets. We see 18,000 swipes on Tinder, 20,000 Snapchats, and 63,000 Google searches, which is a lot of data being exchanged. But at the same time, while all that is happening, in 1 second, there are 1.2 million transactions occurring on IBM Z machines, which is pretty mind-boggling. I'm not going to try to do the math and extrapolate to see like how many transactions that is in an hour or a minute or a day, because my brain isn't wired to do math that fast. But that is an insane amount of data kind of running through these IBM Z machines every single day. And we're really looking at folks like you all who are engaged around tech and excited about tech to kind of continue that innovation so that these transactions can continue to occur in an open fashion, always being on and always being secure. So there are kind of like 3 takeaways I want to make sure that you get away from enterprise computing. It's these 3 words, and it's open, on, and secure. So open, we mean that's open source. IBM Z has a long history with open source technology. There's a whole community around Linux One. IBM Z works on Linux. It works on, we have a great partnership with the Linux Foundation, ensuring that IBM Z technology is open source so that cool people around the planet who have the technology skills can do cool things with the technology, which I've always kind of appreciated about IBM in general, outside of just IBM Z, is this dedication to open source. I think it's awesome. I think it's the future. And I hope, I know a lot of other tech companies are moving in the same trajectory. And I love to see that. IBM Z mainframes are always on. So they have a 99.999. And I think recently we added another 9 to that percent of uptime. So it is extremely reliable. These machines have like several different backup batteries in there, so they never shut down, and the transactions can always go through. So you never have to worry about that when you're incorporating IBM Z technology into your business, kind of in the background. And with security, security is probably the most important thing right now in tech. As we're seeing every day, there's a new story about Facebook data being leaked, Twitch data being leaked, and security, especially when you're making transactions, is the most important thing in the world because you don't want your credit card getting out there. That's really not a worry if IBM Z mainframes are in the background, kind of making the transaction. When the transaction is being made, there is little but really no risk of your data being leaked in that fashion, which is awesome. But as kind of technology advances, so is the hacking side of technology and the people trying to get the data. So one thing that's super important is this number 4 right here, innovation, but we'll get to that later because that's where you all will step in. So just kind of touch upon what kind of cool stuff you can do with IBM Z, because you might think IBM Z, enterprise computing, mainframes, it's all COBOL, it's all kind of boring transactional data, and it's not kind of that like hot stuff of like hybrid cloud data and analytics, blockchain, IoT, AI. But this stuff actually all operates on IBM Z machines as well and kind of works in tandem with them. So if you're interested in AI, there's AI on IBM Z. If you're interested in blockchain and cryptocurrencies and whatnot, there's a route to engage with that technology within the sphere of IBM Z. So it's really not just this, I don't know, hollow picture of what enterprise computing is. It's really actually more diverse and more filled out than that. So let's kind of get into like why you might want to explore enterprise computing as a career path. And these are kind of 5 points as to why I would get involved with IBM Z if I were in college and kind of moving forward and looking into kind of career options in the future. I mean, first and foremost, everyone wants to have a good salary. It kind of starts you off. It helps you build out your family life. And it really sets you on a great path. And that's something that we see in enterprise computing jobs, is that starting salaries in enterprise computing are generally higher against other starting salaries in entry-level positions in other IT fields. So super cool. If you like make money, it's probably a good path to get into. With work-life balance, that's huge in tech, and sometimes it can get overwhelming, especially as a software developer, as a programmer. But with enterprise computing, there is this kind of inherent work-life balance worked into kind of how it's always been. And we kind of just see that trend continuing. People really enjoy their jobs in enterprise computing. Then there's a kind of pathway to make a great social impact and kind of change the world in some capacity. And that's kind of hand in hand with the next diamond on the screen, which is innovation. And you're working on this cutting edge technology. And when you're working on cutting edge technology and building it out and making it better, those are opportunities to make the world a better place, especially when we see how energy intensive transactional mechanisms can be, especially working with this kind of future into cryptocurrencies and whatnot. A lot of those transactions require a lot of energy to produce outcomes, and kind of working in tandem with the innovation and kind of seeing how we can better leverage blockchain technologies on IBM Z mainframes. Someone in this chat right here in this call could be the one to crack the code and kind of make these machines operate much more efficiently when working with blockchain technology, and make that social impact on the world, and make that climate risk a lot smaller. And then lastly, with job security, and this might be the most important one on the list, these enterprise computing skills are in extremely, extremely high demand. Last year, I think we all know job surveys were a little bit difficult to kind of undertake with the pandemic and the state of the world, but our most recent kind of more accurate job survey found in 2019 that there were 82,000 open jobs in enterprise computing. So the jobs are out there, and we're really only going to see that trend increase as more businesses kind of understand their need for this skill set. So it's a great time to get involved. It's a great time to learn these skills because, as you see right there, they are in high demand and will continue to be in high demand. So now we have some testimonies from some of our other Z ambassadors like Jay here. Jay, we got to get you on one of these slides coming up. Just kind of emphasizing how you can learn your skills and what you might want to do to learn those skills. And one of the biggest things you can do today is join us at our Global Student Hub, and I'll kind of walk through that in a second as well to show you all the opportunities on there. But essentially, it's a community that we're building and we're growing every day, and it's all about how we at IBM can help you as students meet new people, learn new skills, engage in events, get some cool swag, and really prepare yourself for the future and land that first job in tech. I would like it to be in enterprise computing, but it could be anywhere. We're not really leaning in any direction. We really want to help you as a student be the best applicant you can be in the future. So there are other workshops not really focused around enterprise computing, but really about presenting and storytelling and writing the best cover letter you can and really maximizing your resume. And it's all about kind of preparing for the future and giving you the opportunity to network with IBMers and your peers around the world and kind of giving you that community. So let me kind of show you what we got going for us over at the Student Hub. Hoping you can still see this. So here's our Student Hub. I'm going to pop the link in the chat here. So if y'all want to follow along here, you can hop in there. Where I have a contribute button, you will have a create an account or log in button. If you already have an IBM ID, you can log in with that IBM ID. If you don't have one, it'll kind of walk you through creating one. You'll have to kind of like go back and forth between your email a couple of times to verify yourself. But it's a pretty cool process. And what you can see here that we have is up front, we have some awesome announcements. The first of which is a student contest that kicked off on Friday. It is certainly not too late to get involved there, and you can earn some amazing cash prizes. But I'll get into that in a second. This other announcement right here is another reason why you might just want to register for the Student Hub, even if you have no interest in enterprise computing or learning about enterprise computing. And that's because if you register for the Student Hub, by the end of the day, you feed a child for the day. And who doesn't want to feed a child around the world? It's an awesome partnership we have with Share the Meal, and it's extended through the end of the year. So no reason not to sign up, no reason not to feed a child. So some other cool stuff that we have going on here is we have some awesome blogs, and as a member of the Student Hub, you can write your own blog as well, and start building that eminence and start kind of gathering links, helping your own search engine optimization. When they Google you, they'll see, oh, Jay, he's an excellent candidate. Let's see what's out there for him, and they'll search him up, and I'm sure they'll find some other amazing stuff, but they can also see a blog authored by Jay about enterprise computing, about something he learned at a workshop, or about how he's kind of leveraging that technology in the world. Like I believe that Lepepul is another one of our Z ambassadors who wrote about harnessing technology to achieve UN societal social development goals as well. So you can kind of scroll through here, and there's some awesome stuff, both kind of about technology, but also about kind of life skills as well, and kind of general job skills, kind of personal branding. What is Docker? So we really we'd like to diversify the content, and we invite you as members of the Student Hub to contribute content as well. We also have this amazing discussion board feature where you can get involved with other students. You could see people kind of posting after workshops, after discussions that they've had in their communities. We have our Z ambassadors introducing themselves, so you can kind of find someone in there. You can click through some of these and see if there's someone that you'd like to engage with, you'd like to speak to, you'd like to learn more from, and you can connect with them right here in the Student Hub. And then we also, whenever we have events, we'll post them up here so that you can learn about them, you can gain awareness, and you can attend them. We have this awesome Z for Global Goals Week, which is past, but you can still catch all the replays, which is why they're out there, because I thought they were great. There were some cool conversations between one of our younger Z ambassadors, Lela Halloum, with some members from her kind of community and from your community as student voices, along with some more seasoned professionals who are a little later in their careers, kind of having these open dialogues about how creating partnerships is so important in achieving the social development goals, how prosperity plays a role, how peace is so crucial. So we like to kind of create these events. We'd love your feedback as well into how we can create better events for you all. And that's something that you can kind of blog about. That's something you write about in the discussion board as well. We also have this cool video library. So when we have some of these events, we will kind of record the videos and we'll host them on here as well. So as you can see, there's some technical content, and we also have some more personal development and digital skills content as well. So I invite you to check this all out. Join us here. Would love to meet you all. Tag me in the discussion board post. Say hey. I'll say hey back. We can connect. So that's our Student Hub. And kind of in tandem to the Student Hub, we have this awesome platform up called Z Explore. And Z Explore is going to be your go-to place to actually learn these enterprise computing skills, get your hands on an IBM Z machine. I know that we all know now that we've used IBM Z technology more in the background, but Z Explore kind of gives you the opportunity to actually learn the hands-on skills. So through like the fundamentals platform or kind of programming, you'll actually engage with the virtual machine of an IBM Z, start learning those COBOL skills. And after you finish the fundamental section, you'll get a really awesome industry recognized badge, kind of certifying that you've completed this, that you understand these skill sets. And then you'll move on to more difficult content that's a little more built out, and you can learn another industry, or you can gain another industry recognized badge through that as well. So highly recommend checking out Z Explore. Let me toss the link in the chat here as well. But you'll also be able to get there from that Student Hub. You can climb your way up the leaderboards as well. Everything you do earns you points. I need to get myself more points. I need to start going through some of these some of these modules to get more points. But you can also get points right here for joining the Student Hub. So another reason to join that Student Hub. And another reason to kind of work through this Z Explore platform is so that you are better prepared to participate in the IBM Z Student Contest, which is open now and it's running until this date will be a little bit different for you because it adjusts to your time zone. But the student contest, I'm gonna start out with why you might want to participate, and that's to win cash prizes. We have regional prizes as well as global winners. You're not even lumped in with the Asia Pacific crowd. In India, you have an opportunity to win your own regional prize as well. So check this out here too. I'll pop the link in chat. And the contest is pretty cool. It's pretty fun. You'll likely want to go through the Z Explorer material first, especially fundamentals and likely some of concepts as well, so that you can get a better understanding of the technology you'll be engaging with. But the challenge will kind of walk you through escaping from the digital underground by building yourself a vehicle to get out of there using enterprise computing technologies. It's really cool. It's really well done. It's an individual contest. And the judging, like all the rules are in here, the submission format, the judging criteria. So check it out. It's not just based on like who finishes first. So the fact that we're like 3 days into the challenge, don't be too nervous about that. You still got plenty of time to get the Z Explorer skills and participate in the challenge. So that's what I have for you all today. Would love to answer any questions you all might have about enterprise computing, about the Student Hub, about working on an agile team, about IBM, really about anything. Happy to answer.
For sure. Thanks, Lucas. And that's also one aspect that I really wanted to mention here. If you just saw the last aspect that Lucas mentioned, it was about a challenge that's hosted on Hacker Earth, right? Now, the thing is that if you don't know much about COBOL and how it's basically done, the whole challenge will be, then in that particular case, you can also use Python. So if any one of you folks think or feel that the content you can't really participate in content because you don't really have good grip over COBOL, then you can actually do the whole thing using Python. So, and Python is something that a lot of you folks would know about and also have experience in. So I just wanted to mention that. So just don't feel that you are missing out on anything, because you can also use Python. And other than that, Lucas, as always, the session was really informative. I also make sure that all the links that you have said here will be sent via mail to all the people who registered. A lot of folks haven't been able to join, so I'll make sure that all the links reach them. And yeah, so now it's time for the Q&A. So yeah, you can type in the chat box if you have questions, or you can also unmute yourself or raise your hand. Any of them will work.
As the questions hopefully start coming in soon, I'll also mention that the Z Explorer platform, where you can skill up around COBOL and enterprise computing, and there are modules kind of not just COBOL focused, like there's JCL, there's Python on enterprise computing. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. That Z Explorer platform is open now, and it'll remain open for the foreseeable future. Whereas the student contest will end on November 15th, 16th. That Z Explorer platform will always be open for you to get those badges and learn the content, learn the skills.
Exactly. So right now you folks can just participate in the event using Python, and if you want to really pursue forward in enterprise computing, then you can just head over to Explore and just learn skills, get into your higher rankings and earn badges and all that cool stuff. Okay, so now that's officially it. You folks can start asking your questions. And it need not be just about tech. You can also ask anything about management, because Lucas himself has a lot of experience in the management aspect of the tech field. So yeah. Sean, unmuted your mic.
Yes, not listening. So
yeah, Dhruv, you are saying something?
okay.
Well, I see Deb Dahlia with the chat question, how to be a product owner. So the product owner on the agile team it's almost in a sense like the CEO of the product, where they're kind of making strategic decisions, but also kind of taking that tactical approach to the strategy and really getting hands-on in how you can meet those goals. So there's a lot of goal setting, and it's really important to work with your team, with your developers, and with your Scrum Master to kind of form those goals. You really got to make sure it's an open discussion. You don't want to just be issuing marching orders without incorporating what the team wants and what the team can do. So that's a really important piece to being a product owner, but a lot of it is also then working with other teams, with other squads, and seeing how you all can help each other meet your own individual goals. Like, for example, the team that created the Z Explore platform is a different squad than my own, but we know that they are kind of trying to get users on their platform. We're trying to get students involved. So it's a great opportunity for collaboration and working together. So that's just one example of how a product owner really needs to work with other teams and look outside what their team is doing, but also inside what their team is doing to make sure that these goals are attainable, and really working with leadership to really fight for their team more than anything. So it's been pretty cool so far. Gotten some great trainings into product ownership and what that means. And there's some great resources on agile methodology just out there on the web. And we might be incorporating some of that into our community too, if it's of interest to our users. So thank you for that question, Dahlia. Shreya, I see another question. How did I get into IBM? I was fortunate enough to receive an internship to IBM in 2018 maybe. Time really moves differently ever since COVID happened. And I was in a cohort of just 7 interns, and 3 of us received return offers for the next year. If you're lucky enough to get an internship with IBM or with any organization, what I will recommend is just kind of networking like crazy when you're in there. I felt that really helped me kind of secure that return offer, in that people knew who I was outside of the specific team I was working on. And so kind of other people could vouch for me rather than just my direct manager. So I felt that was helpful. Mihir, is there any documentation that we can follow or any roadmap? What specifically, like a roadmap for what specifically? And while you kind of give me some more. Sorry, what was that? I thought I heard something. If you could give me some more specifics into what I can help with there in the chat, happy to answer. In the meantime, how important is communication skills? Communication skills is, in my opinion, equal to kind of technical skills. For management, probably even more so important, because you really have to understand when something is not working. You can't really just say, hey, that's not working, because it's going to grind some gears. It's going to upset some people. You really have to better understand why it's not working, and kind of also supplying a solution. So you can't just come in. You don't want to just be a naysayer and just say like, no, 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 no to all the ideas. You really have to have the substantiation behind it. You have to say no because, or no because but. That's a great way to go about it. So you can say like, no, we can't do that because it's not going to work for X, Y, and Z, but we can do something similar that will work a little bit better. And you really just want to keep it open communication. Asking a lot of questions is important. Never kind of assume that you're the smartest in the room. It's always important to ask questions when they kind of come up as well. I'm working with a team. You really want to get your team members' say always. A roadmap with enterprise computing. Oh yeah. So I think the best place to go to kind of get that roadmap is within that Z Explore platform, because it does build out step by step for you everything you really need to know to kind of get the skills needed to begin this journey on enterprise computing. So you can kind of work maybe in tandem, kind of on the Student Hub, growing your network, and then on Z Explore, building out the skills so that when the opportunities arise through your network, you're ready for them because you're skilled up in Z Explore. So Mahir, that would be my recommendation. Shreya, how did I get an internship for IBM? Like, how did I maximize my resume? You know, I kind of think that luck had some piece to do with it. I think with internships, especially these days in tech, it is highly competitive. And there's just an element to luck to it. How did I maximize my resume? I kind of made sure that each of my prior experiences built towards the role specifically so that my resume was really customized for the job I was applying to. Specifically, my role on the internship team was a lot of external outreach and ensuring that I had that captured in my resume, I felt was really important. So I worked for a startup or helped start a small company when I was in school. It was pretty much like a cereal delivery service. Don't really need to get into the details there. But something I highlighted there was that we really built this from the ground up, that we were self-starters, that I helped a lot with the sales and marketing of the organization. And I kind of used words from the internship job description and made sure that they were highlighted whenever possible in my resume. So I think that's a good tip, especially nowadays with a lot of resumes kind of being scanned by machines before a person even sees them. I think what a lot of those kind of algorithms look for are phrases from the posted job description. So likely doing some research into those algorithms, I think would be really important so that you can make it past that robot, that AI, and kind of get in front of a person.
All right. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I'll kind of still wait for, it's a 30 seconds-ish. If any of you folks still want to type it down in the chat box or unmute yourself, then you can just go ahead.
I am into AI.
Okay,
how can I transition or integrate with IBM Z? That's a great question and something I don't immediately have an answer to, but I know that these are possible, especially with machine learning when you're kind of working with that much data. IBM Z is a great system to work on. Kevin, if you want, what you could do, and I think would be helpful, is if you join the Student Hub and you kind of create a discussion around AI or ML, I'm happy to look for some resources. Our Z ambassadors, our other members of the student community could also chime in and offer some advice for how you can transition. Really, I think transition support, I think integrate is the right word. How you can integrate those skills into IBM Z and working with enterprise computing. So sorry I don't have an answer for you right now, but please make that a discussion board and I'll do some research on your behalf. What sort of languages or tech do we need to learn for IBM Z? A lot of this will be outlined in that Z Explore platform, but you can use any languages really. Like you can use Python, you can use JCL. If you have experience working with databases like DB02, that's big as well. COBOL is kind of the most traditional language that a lot of enterprise computing operates in. But like I said, it is kind of more nuanced than that as well. Like Rex is pretty big too.
Yeah, so just adding to that a little bit, if any one of you folks know about web development, then you know that the very fundamentals of it are HTML and CSS JavaScript, right? Now the thing is that if you really want to build upon that, you can still use Python into web development. You can use a lot of different libraries like React. You have Node, and there are a lot of other things that you can integrate with your app if you're creating an app or just your simple static website. It's just that the base is going to stay the same, while you can use almost each and every other language out there. I think that's the same with IBM Z as well. The base is COBOL, but if you just want to use Python for the same, I actually read the fact that you can still use Python. Sorry for the background noise. But the thing is that you can use Python. Actually, the thing is that Python is specifically mentioned in the documentation, and that's why you can use Python, JCL, COBOL, and a lot of other things like databases. These are the things that are on top of COBOL, I would say, that you can also use if you don't really have experience with COBOL specifically. But if you have, you can just brush up your skills. I think the three examples that we saw in Lucas's presentation, these really great, just with the competitions with everything related to IBM Z, right? So as far as using different fields like AI, ML, or any other things like security, blockchain, all these things can be built on top of IBM Z. And as far as the languages go, I think you can use pretty much all of them. It's just that if you know COBOL, if you know the fundamental language used for IBM Z, then it will be just be feasible for you to use it in the future. So yeah, I actually saw a lot of questions related to this platform, not platforms, but fields and languages. So all the fields can be built on top of IBM Z. And as far as the languages go, it's good to know COBOL, but you can pretty much use every other language out there. All right. I'll again do the same thing. I'll wait for 30 seconds. If we don't have any questions, then I will just wrap the session.
Awesome. If questions pop up later, like I suggested, Kevin, reach out in the student hub, and I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, sure. I would really like to thank Lucas because I actually understand the fact that it's 8:30 a.m. in the morning where you live right now, and you are really taking time out just to come here. There was a lot of back and forth, just finalizing the time and everything. But I really appreciate the fact that you did come. Um, I think that enterprise computing is really something that almost no one knows back here. So I would really think that at least I don't know 50-60% of the folks here would actually dig into enterprise computing, and actually I think most of you folks should really get into student hub and try to compete in the hacker challenge that we have right now, and also make sure that all the resources, all the links that Lucas has mentioned here will be sent into the groups, as well as all the email addresses through which you folks signed on to the event. All right, I don't see any questions now, so that's kind of it. Again, thanks Lucas for joining, and all of you folks, I hope that you gained a lot of experience, not experience exactly, but knowledge and just perspective on how you can pursue enterprise computing as what you want to do in the future. So yeah, that's kind of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jay, for having me here. Yeah. Pleasure to meet you all in the Developer Students Club. Like I said before, and I'll say again, don't be a stranger. Reach out in the hub. I'm happy to stay connected. I'm happy to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.